Oh, you're going to love this. You are going to love this. A sleazeball making sense coming to Donald's defense. Well, slap my face and call me Stormy. Michael Avenatti is actually defending Donald Trump's right to free speech. Avenatti, who's serving time for cheating clients out of millions, spoke up about the injustice of the justice system when it comes to Trump. Quote, "We can't be hypocrites when it comes to the First Amendment. It is outrageous that Cohen and Daniels can do countless TV interviews, post on social, and make money on bogus documentaries, all by talking about Trump. But he's gagged and threatened with jail if he responds." Avenatti posted that on the X platform, which raises the question, how? Do they have phones in jail? Was it smuggled inside another inmate's ass? I'm asking for a friend. Mm-hmm. But you remember Avenatti, he represented porn star Stormy Daniels in her suit against Trump before he went to jail. He rose to media stardom by trolling Trump relentlessly. But now he's changed and defending his arch nemesis. It's like me suddenly switching sides and defending Kilmeade. It's not supposed to happen. In that post, Avenatti was referring to the expanded gag order that blocks Trump from speaking about the family of the judge in his hush money trial. The family, a.k.a. the judge's adult daughter, who runs a progressive political consulting firm that has raised $93 million off the case. Nope, no red flag here, ladies and gentlemen. That's less a coincidence than Jesse forgetting his wallet whenever the bill comes. I ended up paying for both hookers. Now,
Jesus.
Now you got the media defending the judge's daughter, saying she's no different than Barron Trump, that she's off limits because she's a child. Yes, a child in her 30s whose firm raises millions off lawfare directed at Trump, in which her dad is a judge. What is it with libs? They think actual children can make decisions about removing their genitals, but actual adults are fragile babies incapable of handling any criticism. Instead, criticism is an attack.
This all comes after Trump's relentless attacks on Judge Marchand and his daughter.
And of course, that's the trial where Donald Trump has been attacking the judge's daughter by name.
The goal in trying to attack the judge's daughter, to me, is all about him trying to get out of having that judge preside over the case.
It also comes in the wake of repeated attacks and ongoing ones by Trump on the judge's daughter.
It's amazing you call someone a Democrat and they consider that an attack? I guess I can't blame them. I would too.
Period.
Matt? Is Trump doing anything wrong by speaking out? Is he doing anything wrong?
No, the daughter was clearly in the game of politics, was making money, as you point out. But this judge also donated to Joe Biden's campaign in 2020. And Trump has some experience with these New York judges. Mm-hmm. I mean, he already got screwed by the civil case.
Yeah.
And so I completely understand why he wants to fight. I mean, the fact that Avenatti, who was no fan of Trump and was allegedly going to run for president as a Democrat, is now somehow tweeting from prison, which is, like, to your point, amazing that he could do that, but is somehow defending the president's right to speak. He should be able to speak. He should be able to make sure people understand how much corruption and unfairness is in this system here in New York.
Yeah, Kat, this is such a great story. It's about the First Amendment, but also it's about how a man has changed. Avenatti, they could do a buddy film together. Trump and Avenatti together.
No, why is he doing this, really? I mean, is it because he really just cares so much about, like, the rule of law? He's in federal prison, for a reason.
But maybe he's changed.
Maybe.
Wants a pardon.
I think there's exactly. I think there's a lot of incentive to act as if maybe he did change. I think there's obvious First Amendment concerns here, but for him to come out and do that, he has some kind of angle. He always has some kind of angle.
God, you're so cynical.
Because I don't trust that this slimy scumbag in federal prison might have an ulterior motive.
Prison Prison can change people. Look what it did to Kilmeade. You know, before he went to jail for killing that family, he was an odd dude. Granted, he was 16, and that was in sealed. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
We can fix it and edit.
Everything with Stormy was clearly about attention. I mean, she's probably watching this like, man, he really is not a good lawyer for me. But that was all about attention. A lot of this is about attention. He loved being on TV. I do think this is about attention.
Oh, listen, he doesn't give a rat's ass about anybody. Okay, he is the definition of the most sleaziest lawyer. We watched commercials where he had people complaining about him stealing their money, and he used their videos for himself. Like, this guy just sees an opportunity. He's no different than any other. They made money with Trump. They didn't have an issue with Trump. They saw an opportunity. He became so famous that, remember, Stelter was like blushing like a schoolgirl, like, oh my God, you can be president. People love you. And he was robbing from people in wheelchairs. But because there was an opportunity, you say Trump's name, you can make money. You mentioned, I can't remember the guy's name anymore. What was the name of that reporter?
Stelter?
No, the other one. The one that was always like getting yelled at him.
Acosta?
Acosta, yeah, I can't remember that. And his name is Assault, Acosta. But they made so much money off the Trump train. So now they're looking at the way the world is changing and how it goes from, hey, I voted for Trump, but don't tell anybody. Now it's like, Trump, 20 I'm with Trump. So he's seeing that. He's like, hey, maybe I can get on that. And to your point, maybe if I do this right and he wins, I can get a pardon. So he's looking at the angles. Because that's what he is.
Interesting, Jamie. Still, the argument is a sound one. Why do you lose your freedom of speech just because you're involved in a court battle?
I don't know, man. What's really got me confounded here is I keep thinking about what you said, like, how did he get that phone? And if it was brought in from another inmate's ass, why doesn't that guy get it? Like,
I don't know. That's a good question.
He did all the work. Do you know what I mean? My ex-wife paid me hush money once, and I go, what's the secret you want me to keep? And she goes, I just want you to shut the up. Isn't it it's a good time to be a criminal, though, right? You can steal stuff, be in jail for like 24 hours. You can tweet from jail, you know? Like I can't remember the last time I got surprise sex. You know? It's a good time.
Yeah.
We don't know the whole thing with Stormy Daniels. How rich is Trump, by the way, that he's watching a pornographic movie and he's like, bring me that one. I'll order her. Like it's the shopping network. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Porn star shopping network.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
You know what I mean? He goes,
QVC?
he goes, I want that one. They go, okay, and she just shows up.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, the whole thing's, I don't know. We don't know. To be truthful, we don't know what happened if he actually did it or not, right? He did it, but we don't know. Like, we have no way of knowing whether or not he actually did it. I would have done it.
All right, we got to move on, Jamie. Up next, how Amazon's shopping AI was a big fat lie. Amazing story.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.